Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I am your host for today's episode. Today we have Mark Potter, Managing Director of Arc Metal Design, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, some best practices, and maybe some challenges that he's faced along the way to give you that inside look to what it's like to run and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Mark. It is so great to meet you. How are you today?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for having me first and foremost. Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you. How about yourself?
Doing well. I'm really excited to learn about your business. So let's kick it off. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I run a architectural metalwork business based in the Black Country in the West Midlands, United Kingdom. We basically provide architectural metalwork services and sort of fabrication services to both business owners, industrial businesses, as well as to sort of private homeowners that are looking to do extensions to their properties. A little bit about myself, I guess. I live in sort of Birmingham area of the West Midlands, so not quite the Black Country. Married, one kid, and a bit of a sport enthusiast in my spare times. Like to keep fit, like to keep on top of nutrition and things like that. Keep a healthy space, healthy mind, healthy body, and so forth. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's like already such a great nugget of advice for business owners, especially because we tend to forget about the health and well-being. So I think that's huge. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I think you're right there. There's something about that, isn't it? I think we spend so much time sort of working, and it's not you're doing your 9 to 5, then you do your 5 to 9, and suddenly there's no time left for yourself. So I think it's pretty important, really, to make some time for yourself in your diary. If it's only for 45 minutes a day, an hour a day, just to focus on your own well-being, really. I think it just gives you a bit more energy and impetus to overcome some of the challenges that we face in business. But more importantly, just for so you feel better in yourself. So definitely, I agree with that.
Wonderful. Well, let's dive in to this conversation about your business. Excited to learn about it. And you gave us a little bit at the beginning, but I'd love to learn what is your business? And you talked about who you serve, but how did you get into the metalworks?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's quite a personal answer to that, really. So my background isn't within the metalwork industry, isn't within in the industrial industries at all. That's actually my business partner. He's the technical guy who's been fabricating for about 40 odd years. But for me, it was a personal experience. Just before COVID, I started to build my own house and need a lot of steel work going into the house. Unfortunately, we were victim of a cowboy builder and lost over £100,000 to a cowboy builder. What was built was illegal, so we had to tear everything down and basically start again. So looking in a position really of financial despair, emotional despair, and all these type of things, not really knowing how I'm going to afford to get the house built. So my friend, who's now my business partner at the time, said, "Well, I'll tell you what we can do. Let's do the steelwork ourselves." And that's where the business started. So in the back of a unit, making the steelwork to my own house, finished all that, and suddenly thought, you know what? Don't really fancy going back into the corporate world again. I think there's a business here. And that's exactly what we did. We set up what is now known as Arc Metal Design, and we've been trading now for about 3 years. And over the 3 years, each year, we've had over triple digit growth, and it's in a very healthy position. So it's nice to see a good nugget has come out of what has been a very dark period in kind of my life, really.
Wow, that's an incredible story, especially how, you had this like very scary experience, very negative experience, and you were able to find something really incredible out of it. So I mean, that's so inspiring. Thanks for sharing that. As you're kind of going into business now, you mentioned a variety of clients. So like if I were your ideal client, how would I know? Like what's characteristics of your ideal client?
Yeah, I think just first and foremost, if we look down I guess the ideal client from a consumer perspective would be somewhere between the ages of 45 to 65, homeowner looking at home improvement or renovating or extending their existing property or building a new property. That's fundamentally where we kind of position ourselves within sort of the B2C market. In the business to business, we tend to focus primarily with small house developers to medium house developers who build plots of, say, they've got a plot of land, they build, say, 5 to 6 developments on each individual plot. And where we kind of have a niche is, we're quite a small organization, but what we can provide our clients is a full end-to-end service. So right from go through to design, to manufacture, through to installation, where a lot of our competitors in the industry may only provide a part of that service. So the fact we can provide a one-stop shop is what's kind of sets us out a little bit from some of our competitors, really, which has enabled us to grow to where we are today.
Oh, yeah, that's really cool that you're a one-stop shop. I like that a lot because I think that's like really tells a lot about your business. And I'm curious about your team too behind the business. So, what does your team look like? How many team members do you have, and are you growing?
So initially it started off with just the two of us, and now we've got a team of 6. So fundamentally how that kind of looks at the moment, we've got a couple of apprentices that we brought on last year. So they're going through sort of college at the moment, learning all the vocational skills, getting all their qualifications, and they're also being supported hands-on in the factory to actually start manufacturing and making stuff to build up their skill set. Sitting aside that, we then have 2 experienced fabricators who've probably been in the industry now for about 25, 30 years each between them. So a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience, who kind of buddy up with the apprentices to sort of show them the ropes, impart knowledge, and sort of upskill them to where they kind of need to be. And then there's myself and my business partner, Paul, who sit more in sort of the running the business in essence. So there's 6 of us in total. We do have some, I guess you could say, subcontractors that we do work very closely with. So when we get periods of intense activity where it's more than what we can deal with, we have some favored contracts that we can bring in to help us with those periods of time as well.
Oh, wonderful. It sounds like a great team that you're developing and looking at where you want to see the company in like growing in the next 3 to 5 years. Where do you see the company going?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I think from our perspective, we've grown considerably over the 3 years we have been, but that's really just the start of our journey. So I think what we like is we provide good quality end-to-end service. We want to maintain that mantra through the next sort of 3 to 5 years, but fundamentally look to develop into sort of wider and bigger markets. So where at the moment we're, say, serving small to medium house builders, we want to sort of move into more of the larger side of the market. We're also looking at increasing our exposure to some of the other areas that we work in. So we work in the defense sector. So as we all know at the moment, there's obviously wars going on in Ukraine at the moment. So we provided sort of bomb-proof doors into military vehicles, things like that. So that's an area we're looking to grow into, as well as the aerospace sector. So there are 2 markets that over the next sort of 3 to 5 years we're actively going to be pursuing some sort of development into. We've got a foothold at the moment. We want to grow on that and sort of really offer our products into those sort of services, really.
That's incredible. That's really cool to learn because it shows the versatility of your business too, like as you can grow into different industries.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, the beauty about what we do, it's fundamentally, although the application of particular steel may be different, it's still fundamentally the same steel. So it's, although you're doing in different industries, what you're making is in theory exactly the same processes, the same techniques you go through. It's just a product at the end that's different. So from that
Mhm.
perspective, it's quite easy to diversify into other markets, find new markets, and of course, be able to make sure we maintain the quality. The challenge from a business owner perspective, of course, is you don't want to spread yourself too thinly and achieve nothing in those markets. So it's finding that ability to grow sustainably, make sure you get a good foothold in the markets, and then sort of develop from there. Not try and chase too many rabbits really, and end up not doing anything. Wow, that's the challenge. As business owners, you want it all now, don't we? Really, that's the problem, and it's just being able to control that and temper it down a little bit.
You brought up a good point. The analogy of the rabbit, I was just going to say that. And like, I kind of like looking at that challenge. What are some practices that you're putting into place to kind of keep that reined in while expanding?
Yeah, that's really good. And I think when we initially started, it's a case of, okay, let's just get money into the business. So it then suddenly becomes of you will do various things that we wouldn't do now just to generate revenue and turn over in the business and generate some cash. Obviously, as we've grown bigger, our overheads get bigger as well. it then becomes we need to be more specific in terms of what we actually want to provide our services to, because the cost of doing something we would have done 3 years ago just doesn't add up anymore. It's not worth us doing it. So for us, it's really been about being quite clear what sectors we're working in and what our product offering is within those particular sectors to enable us to be able to do that. And that unfortunately does mean, if inquiries do come in, we do need to turn them down. And I think that's one of the hard challenges of running a business is you'd never want to turn an inquiry down, but sometimes you have to, because it's not the right thing for the business and doing it, because it may be something you're not used to doing, and in which case, you then have to have there's a setup cost of doing it, there's a thinking cost of doing it, then there's the manufacturing cost of doing it. Actually, by the time you come to the end product, all those hidden costs you've not necessarily thought about certainly may not have made it profitable or worth doing. So you kind of have to be quite strict and stringent on that. So we have to disqualify stuff as much as we have to qualify stuff coming in these days, which is the big change, really.
Oh, it's like the art of saying no.
It is, isn't it? It's really hard. It's really hard because you
It
want to say
is.
yes to everything, of course, don't you? That's the thing. But it's naturally it's not the right thing to do.
100%. So that actually leads me perfectly into the next question I want to ask you is about your marketing and how you're targeting your marketing. What ways are you marketing your brand and finding success doing it?
Yeah, so we kind of use a multiple marketing strategy, really. So principally, our main source of marketing, if you like, is going to be online. So we do quite a lot of work within Google Ads on the Google platform to generate a lot of inbound inquiries. And that's something we are constantly looking to revise, hone in and perfect and make better and better and better and better to improve the conversion rates. Um, we do some social media advertising, but it's a difficult one. So I think LinkedIn's probably the main one that we focus on, really, specifically because we can target specific type of business owners, specific type of businesses, and specific type of job titles within those businesses to really start to sort of develop our sort of brand and awareness. We haven't really looked too much down the meta route yet, but it's an area we're looking to explore this year. But really, it's principally sort of the Google from a digital perspective, and LinkedIn are our main sort of primary focuses. Outside of that, really, it's some sort of traditional marketing. So I spend a lot of time going out to networking events, meeting people, industry events, trying to speak to people, because I very much I'm a people person, so I like to be in front of people. I think that's the best way to build your relationships and more longer term partnerships with companies that we want to work with. So that's very much an active part of what we do, is go out and sort of speak to people and speak to clients. And then top and tail that, we do some press, but not so much in the old fashioned sort of paper and print these days, because it's a bit of a dying industry, so to speak. So we tend to target very specific high end lifestyle magazines, which are going to be distributed to high net worth clients who don't really mind spending too much money. So to get it into those type of industries, as opposed to say more of a standard magazine, which is picked up by everybody.
Ah, well,
So
thank you for sharing about those. Oh, sorry.
a multi-channel approach, really.
Wonderful. Yeah, those are all really great. Especially, I really like that. That's kind of a golden nugget you just said, thinking about your business, and this could apply to any business owners, is, you look for those niche opportunities to market, like the high-end lifestyle magazines. I'm a junkie for those. I love reading
Yeah.
those. So I could definitely see the draw. And I think that's something really special that you said, because that can really help others in their industries to market efficiently as well.
And I think what we found within those particular type of magazines is making sure your offering is unique. So, a lot of what we can do can be very standardized. Now, if you're going to go into a high-end lifestyle magazine, then a standard offering you can pick off the shelf or off any internet provider isn't really going to fly. So you
Mhm.
really need sort of what we tend to focus on then is actually the uniqueness and the bespokeness of our products that we can create. So it's in essence what is in your mind or your inspiration, or people often do, they go onto Pinterest and they see all these wonderful things and they think, oh, I'd love that in my home. We can help bring that to life. So that's where for us the nugget is being able to provide something so unique and bespoke that no one in a million years is going to have the same product or the same thing, which in those high-end magazines, it tends to be what the clients are looking for. They don't mind spending the money, but they want something which they can show off to family, friends, which is completely unique to them. So that's how we kind of make sure that works for us.
Oh, definitely. Very, very cool. And now I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about a challenge you've maybe faced in the last 3 years of business. What is a challenge that you've faced, and what are you kind of going through in your business that is something you're working on?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest challenge we face is scaling.
Mm,
Um, we've gone from two of us to six of us. We started off in the back of someone else's factory, renting a bit of space, having our own premises. So it's actually then suddenly how you scale a business sustainably. Because suddenly, you've got a lot more overhead costs, which you never had before, fixed costs, increased wages, increased rent, increased bills. But more importantly as well, then you've also got your manufacturing costs. So we're using more raw materials, energy costs increase. So suddenly everything increased. So it's been able to scale a business and keep everything flowing. And obviously, as we all know, cash flow is probably one of the biggest challenges small businesses face. And that's what, probably been our biggest challenge in how we overcome that. So for us, it's really been about making sure it's thought out and it's planned out properly. So to not make any rash decisions. So we make a lot of our decisions sort of based on data points that we can potentially draw out of our systems to inform whether something's worth pursuing or not. If we're unsure, then we don't tend to do it. If we are sure it's the right thing to do, the data tells us to do, then we can use that to make our decisions. So that enables us to mitigate any potential wrong decisions down the line. That doesn't mean say we haven't made wrong decisions. Of course we have, but it's getting as few wrong decisions as we can. And that's helped us to scale at a relatively good pace. And I think what that's also enabled us to do as a business is to have no debt in the business as well. So from
mhm,
that perspective, we scaled, we've got no debt in the business, but it's probably come at a slight cost in terms of how much we can grow. But it's more
mhm.
sustainable, we feel, as a longer term viable business doing it that way.
Definitely. And what are some of the methods that you've used to kind of like practice that?
Yeah, so for me, that goes back to my previous career really, and where I was very much I don't want to say word of management consultant. I hate that type of word or that type of job, but that's kind of a lot of things that I did. Lots of target operating models into organisation and organisational redesigns, looking at turning around businesses that weren't succeeding and failing. So a lot of the practices and teachings I've used there, I've brought directly into help me and run this business here. So it's a lot of those systems and processes I've put in place, which enables me to do that and successfully able to do that so far.
Wow, that's incredible. That's like a great way, another golden nugget, I would say, like looking at your previous skill sets to enhance the business that you're growing right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the good thing from our perspective is that my business partner, he's very much the technical brain, if you like. He's got the hands-on experience, 30, 40 years, but he can't do what I do. And I certainly can't do what he does. So actually, from a small business, there's two of us now that have got such a wider vision than if both of us did the same thing. So that means, we're as a pair, we're far more effective working together because A, we don't step on each other's toes, and B,
Mm,
there's blind spots he will be completely unaware of, I'm aware of, and there's
mm.
blind spots I'll be completely unaware of that he's aware of. So actually, from that perspective, it makes the business a lot more effective in how it operates and how it runs. So it's been good.
That's good. That's a really awesome partnership too, to
Yeah,
have both you guys can have each other's backs.
exactly. Yeah, it's symbiotic, really, in that sense. We couldn't exist without each other in that sense from a business perspective.
Oh, that's really good. This has been such a fun conversation. Now I want to dive into a fun part of the Q&A called our rapid fire questions, where you
Okay.
answer 4 questions very top of mind. Question number one is, what is the key to success for you?
Um, the key for the key to success for me is I look at it every day. Really, I like to end the day learn with something I've learned which I didn't know the day before. That for me is how I define success. And where I look at it on the longer term period, looking at it in one day, it doesn't seem very much. But actually, if we look back 12 months from where I was before, there's a hell of a lot of learning, hell of a lot of improvement. 5 years, 10 years, suddenly these small incremental improvements daily make a significant change at the end of it. So that's for me how I market success, make sure I'm improving every single day where I can.
I love that. And the second question is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Um, have a plan, but be prepared for your plan to go wrong. And when
Mm,
it wrong, make sure you can get into survival mode and be quite adaptable. I think it's probably the one piece of advice I have.
Also, great advice. Number three is what is a piece of content you've taken in most recently? It could be a book, a podcast, anything that's inspired you.
Yeah, I think probably the moment I'm reading two books by Alex Hormozy. Don't know if you're familiar with Alex Hormozy.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's one
so
of my
I'm
faves.
reading $100 million offers and $100 million leads at the moment. So they're the two sort of content books that I'm currently reading at the moment to help us supercharge our business. Really, I think the content he puts out is great. It's really useful, really insightful, and more importantly, it's written in plain, simple English as well. So it's not one of these books that's written in MBA business speak, which it's spent a day and a half trying to understand what they're trying to get at. It's very simple, so it's good.
It's very down to earth and easy to digest, which is, yes, I'm a huge junkie.
Yeah, it's great.
Fourth question is, if you could wave a magic wand and overnight improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
Automation, without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, that is so true. And thank you for answering those questions. Now, I'd love to connect people with you. How can people find your business online?
Yep. So you can go to www.arcmetaldesign.co.uk. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Arc Metal Design, and also on Instagram as well at Arc Metal Design.
Well, thank you so much. Mark, before we wrap up for the day, what is most inspiring to you today?
You know what? We've gone through a really horrible winter here, and it's the first few days of sunshine we've had. So that's probably my inspiration today is the sunshine. It makes everything feel a little bit more elevated. So that's definitely my inspiration today.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't agree with you more. So thank you again. This has been such a joy. Thanks for being on the show.
Lovely. Thank you for having me.